So this is the FiiO UTWS3. It's a very interesting item because it's one of those true wireless adapters that we've been just waiting for a really long time. I've had quite a bit of a lengthy history with true wireless adapters. I was one of the early adopters of the TRN-BT20s back in 2018. I imported them by myself from China. They were like $25 or something like that, and they were pretty much trash. And I mean, at that point, I can forgive them. They were like one of the first ones to come up with it, and it was only $25, so I couldn't really fault them. But then after that came out like the 460M2s, came the Shure true wireless adapters, came the TRN-BT20s, TRN-BT20S Pros, and they were all still rubbish. So when I saw that FiiO, right, with the release of the previous one, the UTWS1, which was also rubbish, right, they came up with the UTWS3, which was priced slightly higher compared to most of the competition, except for the 460M2s, which are way more expensive and still garbage. I had a bit of a doubt, right? These are like only like $80 or something. So it took me a bit of time to just, I wanted to just wait for some reviews to come in, wanted to hear what people were thinking of, because I didn't want to keep wasting my money on too many true wireless adapters. So far, I've had more than 7 or 8 pairs of them, and they've all been rubbish. But boy, am I glad that I did spend my money to buy this one, because they're damn great. Now, starting off, the first thing that you'll notice is the fact that this thing is massive. It's freaking huge, right? Compare this to something like the Galaxy Buds Pro. The Galaxy Buds Pro seems like just a small bar of candy compared to this. This is like a whole can of mackerel in terms of size, right? It's freaking massive, right? But sure, compared to the Shures and compared to the TRN-BT20S Pros, it's still smaller than most of them. And the 460M2s are also quite significantly larger. I no longer have them with me because they were just too rubbish. I sold them. They have way too much noise floor, right? And they weren't smaller either. They're quite large as well. So yeah, at least FiiO, like, I wish they were a bit smaller, but then again, in order to accommodate most IEMs, I can kind of forgive them for the fact that they've used just like very large case, I suppose, right? And speaking of the case, this case feels pretty good. It doesn't feel cheap, right? It feels quite well built. It's not really brittle. It's quite tough. Although if you knock on it, it does sound like cheap plastic. But in your hands, it's soft touch plastic, and it feels pretty damn good. It's also quite hefty, which might be a con for some, but I find it to be quite reassuring that it has some heft to it, right? You have like a USB-C connector on the back of the case where you can charge this, and there'll be indicators on the front, like 2 LED lights, which will indicate you what the status of the case and the IEMs inside of them are. Like if they are blinking white, it means that they're charging, and if they are like low on battery, or they'll be red. I can get these mixed up. Just check the manual online just to be sure what they mean. I keep forgetting what these statuses mean, because this one, like where it just starts blinking and it says it's in pairing mode, stuff like that. I keep forgetting what it means. But yeah, now for the case itself, the insides of it, it's not that large, right? It's bigger than what I was initially expecting, to be honest, when I saw these, because I thought they were pretty small, but they're a bit bigger than I expected. But they're still not big enough, right? So in the promotion material, they I think one of them had like the photos of the Z1Rs in the UTWS3, but this is what happens if you put in the Sony Z1Rs in a normal, like, used condition, right, without rotating them. Won't fit. It just won't fit, right? And the reason behind this is simply it does not have enough depth to it. Right? It just doesn't have enough depth. The ear tips that I'm using also doesn't help that. So for like longer, thicker IEMs, you will definitely not fit on these. And this is already considering that the UTWS3 here has MMCX connectors and the IEMs can be rotated. That's why I'm able to fit the Z1Rs, which might feel very clunky to some people. I was also able to fit something like the 7Hz timeless on these. Obviously I had to rotate them. I don't know if you bought like the 2-pin version, if big IEMs like the Blessing 2s and whatnot will fit or not. I think they probably won't fit. Maybe they'll fit. I'm not sure on that. You might want to check in the forums what people are saying, because I wasn't really able to find if anyone had tested their Blessing 2s in this case and whether or not they fit or not. So yeah. Right. So if you have IEMs that are a bit smaller, right, like possibly like the classic Shure SE215 shell-shaped IEMs, those will definitely fit, no problems, right? But aside from that, if it's something that's as large as the Z1Rs, might want to double check first, especially if those are 2-pin IEMs, because you can't rotate these, right? If they were 2-pin, if these MMCX connectors, you can rotate them, but 2-pin connectors, no chance. Right. Now, putting aside build quality and stuff, I also wanted to talk about another thing that irks me a lot about true wireless adapters, right? The true wireless capabilities of the Shure like SE215, Ionic 215, whatever these are called, right? They're labeled usually like the Shure Ionic 215 true wireless, or they're called something like the Shure true wireless adapters only. Either one, you'll be able to find these adapters. They are sold separately. The case that it comes with is freaking massive, right? And the TWS Pros, which are also quite big, but these are both rubbish. The connectivity of these two things, right? They are horrible, right? They're plain horrible. They keep disconnecting. They keep panning sound like left, right, left, right, left, right. And although all of them use a slave system, right? At least on like my phone, which it doesn't support True Wireless Plus, right? So it uses a master-slave system. So either the left or the right IEM will be used as a master, and the other one will be used as a slave, right? So there's only one point of connectivity, right? It keeps on disconnecting between the left and right, right? Even on my head. And with my phone in the like on this table, which is not that far away from my head, it's like 30-40 centimeters maximum, right? They keep disconnecting for some reason, right? The UTWS3 also has this problem on initial startup usually. So when I wear them, like for the initial 20 seconds or so, it'll just have this like panning effect where it goes like left, right, left, right, left, right, and then it settles down, and I no longer have that issue, right? Randomly, it'll have that issue at some point in time, like after like 30 minutes or so. I'm not sure what's causing that. It might be a firmware issue, might not be, I don't know, but it's not nowhere near as annoying as what I was facing on like the TWS Pro and the Shure Ionic 215 adapters. These are just absolute garbage. These are trash. Okay, don't buy these. This is just rubbish, right? And the TWS Pro also has the same problem, and these are also rubbish. I wouldn't buy these, right? I'll be selling these, by the way, and you already know my opinion on these. I don't know, you might want to buy these just for the sake of just lulling or something. I don't know. Sometimes I use these to plug power headphones, because they have like ample enough of power to power some very lightweight headphones. But then again, I sometimes cringe because of the fact that it just pans around and just loses connection all the time. So yeah, but the convenience factor is quite large with true wireless adapters, right? Because there's no more cables dangling around and stuff. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Right. So aside from connectivity, the FiiO UTWS3, one other part why I think these are so great is the fact that they simply don't have that high of a noise floor, which is something that I've been missing from all of the true wireless adapters that I've been using up until now. The Fostex TM2s P20S Pros, the Sures, they all have very high noise floor. It's not the case with the UTWS3. They still have some noise, but it's not to the point where I would, where it would disturb me listening to music. And I'm quite particular with how noisy these adapters can be, right? With the Andromedas, you will definitely still be able to hear some noise, but it won't be as much as per se on these adapters. Because on these, with the Andromedas, they just and it's just unlistenable, unless you crank up that volume way over your comfortable listening levels, or at least my comfortable listening levels, which is like around 85 decibels, right? So yeah. So that's one of the major contributing factors why I really like the UTWS3. It's because simply it just doesn't have that much high of a noise floor. So it's great. I like that about them. Now, when I was talking about connectivity, I actually forgot to talk about range. So the range on these, right, with aptX connection, okay, with aptX, I was able to get in clear line of sight. I was able to get 10 meters easy, actually sometimes even more depending on how much interference. In the office I was able to get maximum 10 meters. We have like 4 or 5 Wi-Fi routers, quite strong Wi-Fi routers in our office, and maybe even more with the office with the other buildings around us, right, with the other like office cubicles and whatnot. So there might be even more interference. I couldn't really record how much interference there is. I didn't have my tools with me at that time. Right. In my house, I was able to get even more than that. I was able to get like 15 meters in terms of range with these. And the funny thing is, right, because this is a master-slave system, if you put the master somewhere, right, if you put the master like 15 meters away from the source, right, and you just use the slave, you can extend the range essentially, like a relay sort of. And you can get like up to 30 meters of range. That is what I did sometimes while I was cleaning around the house, or I was just doing chores. I would just put my phone in my room. I would put the master somewhere in the middle of the house where it would still get reliable connectivity, and I would just use one side of the IEM while I was just going around and about the house. So yeah, it has like the actual connection between the IEMs themselves seems to be very strong actually, because I was able to get more range from like the between these IEMs compared to the master towards the actual phone itself. I wasn't able to test out the True Wireless Plus compatibility because I didn't have any phone that supported it, although via developer options it says that it actually enabled it. But the fact that only one side of the IEM was able to be in an active state at the time, yeah, it was probably just some bug or something on my phone, which is the Poco F3, by the way. Samsung and I think Huawei's, I think they support True Wireless Plus, but I don't have either of them, and I couldn't really get my hands on either of them at the time of the recording of this. Maybe if I do get my hands on one of those phones, I might be able to just get a quick test on them. But yeah. And speaking of which, in terms of latency, with aptX connectivity, it's the usual. It's, with videos and such, if you watch on an Android phone, it's not terrible, because on Android it just automatically just adds like the amount of delay that is configured on like via with the Bluetooth connection, like how much it normally would be, right? So videos don't seem too out of sync. It's definitely not 100% accurate, right? It seems that like the amount of delay that has been configured for this doesn't seem to be quite proper. With other Bluetooth stuff that I have, like the Topping MX3s or even the Galaxy Buds Pros, the delay on those seems to be configured better, and as such the video and audio sync seems to work quite well. But that's not quite the case with the UTWS3. It seems that it's like a bit offset there. The audio is just coming a bit late compared to the video, but it's not as bad as like SBC connections and such, so it's quite bearable. But I definitely wouldn't recommend these if you were to go like play online games and such, because these just have massive delay, right? And speaking of which, I'll probably also be embedding like a sound test of what the microphone sounds like of the FiiO UTWS3. From what I've been told, even on applications such as Discord and whatnot, the UTWS3 gives quite clear sound, so that's good to hear. I haven't been able to really test out the noise cancellation much because I wasn't really able to get consistent crowds when I was walking around the mall, and I didn't really have anyone available to test out like the noise cancellation call functionality and whatnot. So yeah, that's rather unfortunate. But yeah, overall, aside from all of that, the battery life of these is also pretty good. I was able to get like 5 hours in one charge of these, and supposedly you're able to like charge them up for like 4 or 5 hours at a time. And obviously the amount of time that you'll be able to listen to these will like depend on how much volume you've been playing them at. Like at maximum volume, I imagine it'd be quite less. I'm listening to these at like half to 3/4 volume, which is quite high even for my standards, but I did it for the sake of the test. I sometimes just put them on the side, just let them play. I haven't tried just letting them play for the complete 8 hours, which these I think were rated for one charge. But at like 5 to 6 hours, I had like 20% left based on the indicator of the battery in like the in the app. Right, which, speaking of which, these do come with an app, and I'm not sure how I'm going to show this as in the best way possible. Right, I have to pull these out, let them connect, confirm, right, and on the app you will have like tons of configurability. Actually, you have like some button functions that you're able to customize. The app is kind of scuffed, but it's still better than the Shure app. The Shure app is just complete rubbish. It's the lowest of lows. The Shure app, this is just, standard, very quick development app quality, I would say. The thing that irks me the most is that they give you an EQ functionality, right? But it doesn't really allow you to customize the EQ much. It has its functionality, but for some reason it just doesn't allow me to do custom EQs for some reason. I don't know why it does that. But anyway, it's an option that you have. And in the audio section here, you can configure like how much volume by default there is. So it has like an Android level controlled volume. Right, so this volume bar is actually separate from the volume on the actual device itself. You can set the volume of the device itself here. Like the higher you go, the more noise floor there will be. Obviously, usually I put it at like 8, or sometimes I would put it at 17, depending on like the IEMs that I'm using. With the Z1Rs, I usually put them at like 10 maximum, and I just let the digital volume to be a couple notches down, and I maximize it depending on the volume of the song that I'm playing. Right, so that I have some headroom in order for me to just increase how high of a volume I want it to be. Call volume and volume of tones for some reason are also like the volume of call and the rest of the volumes are for some reason on a different scale. I don't know why that is. Like the volume of the device can be up to like 26 notches, but the volume to call can only be up to 20 notches. I don't know why that is. I find it very odd. And these settings will be kept on like the device that you're configuring, right? So both the L and R, depending on which master you're connecting towards, will keep these settings, right? So you might want to just connect to whichever you have set your settings on. Normally I would set the master to be the L earpiece, right? This is where most of my settings are kept, right? And if I connect to it, it will keep most of the settings. Okay. You also want to check the EQ. Sometimes it just toggles on its own for some reason. Seems like a bug to me. And the channel balance you can set as well. So if you have imbalanced ears, which does occasionally happen, you can set that. The granularity seems to be quite large though, so it's only like 5 steps left or right. So I would have wanted like an even more granular, if possible, like infinite scale. That would have been better. I would have loved that actually, but it just simply doesn't have that. So that's rather unfortunate. I don't know why actually these even have steps. Like this is a digital side. Why can't we just have like, you know, infinite adjustability? Like the ES100s have like close to infinite adjustability. Well, okay, it's not exactly infinite, but you can get way more granular volume on the ES100 compared to these, at least. Right. Aside from that, you have like the guides and stuff, the usual. And yeah, that's pretty much the app. And you can also update the firmware from this app, which I've done. You can change the name, stuff like that. You can turn it off from here. I don't know why you would want to do that, but you can. So yeah. All in all, I think the UTWS3 is probably the only true wireless adapter so far that I can daily use that doesn't make me want to just throw them in the river or just want to step on them. Right, this is the only ones that I've used that are quite bearable. They're quite nice to use, and albeit them being a bit heavy and the memory, because of the way that they're being fitted on in the case, you need to constantly readjust them. Right, I need to keep them angled towards in here so that it fits over my ear properly. Right, that's a bit of like a minor annoyance. All in all, I think it's a pretty damn great thing. From what I know, the next release of this, which was in the box, right, and actually in the manual that you're gonna be getting in the box, it mentions of something of the UTWS5, and they say that it'll have more power from the posts I've seen online, which is great news, I suppose, for people who have IEMs that are very power hungry and you want to use them with these. But yeah, all in all, I think it's a very great device. I really like it. So rare for me to actually like something that's, you know, that has disappointed me on so many occasions. As a technology, I can completely recommend this. The box itself is quite annoying to take apart. I don't seem to be able to just pull this out, but you just get like a short USB-C cable to charge this, and some manuals and warranty, stuff like that. And I think that's about it. 9 out of 10, I would recommend these. If you need true wireless capability for your IEMs that you already have, these are totally worth it, I would say. If you don't mind, the cables, get the BTR5s and such, or like the i5 Blue, depending on your budget. If you want true wireless capability, no doubt about it, just get these. Everything else is trash. This is the standard, I would say, the bare minimum standard of true wireless adapters. And I have high hopes for this technology in the future. I hope that companies start realizing that noise floor and connection stability is indeed very important for true wireless adapters, and everything is not about power only. So yeah, I think this is probably the least ordered or least. Actually, I didn't write any script at all for this video. Normally I would have like some talking points that I've written down so that I have some sort of structure when I'm talking about this. This is just something that I wanted to get off my chest because I just really like this item. I couldn't wait to review this. So I'm sorry for the fact that you had to go through this video, this very unstructured video. But if you're still here, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.